राहुल चालूच ठेव.
आता आलं का बघ, रिफ्रेश कर.
हो हो येस येस आला आला.
स्टार्ट करायला लाव त्यांना. आता ही विंडो दिसते का आपल्याला?
हो हो हे सर्व स्टार्ट करायला. मी कुठपर्यंत आले ते बघू त्याच्यात.
सरांना स्टार्ट कर. तिथला बंद करा सगळे माईक. तुमचे माईक बंद करा. आता तुम्ही सांगा सरांना. सर स्टार्ट करा.
तिथून सांग माझं रेंज
हां सर. हॅलो बोला.
हाँ अमोल सर. We'll start the session. Dr. Amol. You can start sharing the presentation and we will start the session. Sir, you are not audible.
Yes, yes. येतोय आवाज येतोय सर.
आपला माईक बंद केला नाही.
Sir, you are not audible.
त्यांचा माईक चालू करून.
Sir, please start.
Okay. Am I audible to you? So, before proceeding, I would create
Sir, please start.
Secondly, I want to do myself in front of my master's
याला येतो का आवाज? मी तेच म्हटलं याला आवाज येत नव्हता. हे मी बंद ठेवले. येते ना आवाज? बाहेरचा स्पीकर चालू वाटतं. हां लावले ना.
बंद करा. करताना आवाज नाही येतो.
पण आवाज तर येतोय बारीक त्यांचा.
त्यांचा आवाज वाढव ना. माईकचा आवाज वाढव सर. आवाज येतो. आपला आवाज जातो इथला. इथला एक आला.
with this beginning, I would like to give my introduction that myself, Vaidya Bhusar Chakadu, presently working as an assistant professor in the Department of Anesthesia at National Institute of Ayurveda, Jaipur. And today I am going to present the topic that is exploration of the concept of Garavisha and its use in a clinical practice. Before proceeding further, I just want to ask certain questions to all of you. That what is the Garavisha? What is the concept of Garavisha in Ayurveda? Is it relevant to understand this concept of Garavisha in today's contemporary time frame? Yes, it is very essential. Then if yes, then what could be the different forms of the Garavisha in contemporary time frame? Fourth question definitely arises in your mind that what could be the role of Garavisha in different disease conditions, particularly in an Ayurvedic point of view and in contemporary.
थोडं स्क्रीन खाली कॅमेरा खाली करा आणि माईक
And you
जवळ
know
करा.
the role of Garavisha in
Glasses टाका.
different
कशावर zoom out टाका.
Google
by
Meet वर
considering the Ayurvedic perspective as well as
तुमच्या
Personal याच्यावर.
तुमच्या
how can we apply this
नाही,
concept
तुझ्या
in
मोबाईल वर.
clinical
मोबाईलवरून केलं तरी चालेल ना वरून?
बरं आता झालं
And finally, we have a list of certain Vishana Dravyas and formulations basically indicated in Garavisha, and that could be helpful for managing the different disease conditions in present scenario. These are certain questions raised in my mind, and I just want to throw the light on this particular because even there are lots of news are going on the channels also in media, on Facebook, WhatsApp, lots of things are there. Now these are certain cuttings which I really want to show you because the concept of Garavisha, the understanding the concept of Garavisha is very very
सगळे
important.
माईक काढले बाबा.
For that, they have to be aware that what wrong practice is going today in our day-to-day life and how we are exposing n number of chemicals. Because at present we are all are converted to toxins. And basically we are not aware. We are not, though we are aware, but we are not much more aware about it. Being as a Vaidya, we should think all these aspects that these are the one of the important things like the mind form of Garavisha, and so that we have to be through a broad vision in all aspects. So this is a cutting basically that which highlights this thing that is दाल का काला धंधा 4000 किलो घटिया दाल के साथ 30 लीटर रंग पकड़ा. Now there are the different pulses colored by using the different kinds of the coloring agents. Unintentionally we are not aware about this coloring agent and how this mass activity is going on. We are indirectly or unintentionally. Now second one is
हे महत्वाचं आहे कारण पुढे सगळं आपल्या याच्यावर आहे. तुम्ही नंतर त्याला
त्यांचं असेल ना नेटवर्क व्यवस्थित त्यांना दिसेल.
chemicals and mud used to shine the poor quality almond. Badam जो होते, the external covering of these almonds and the badam particularly, they are furnished, they are garnished with the different kinds of the colors, that is chemicals and mud, to shine particularly low quality almonds. And थोड़ा सा कलर लगा के केमिकल्स लगाने के बाद वो बहुत अच्छे दिखते हैं. वी आर बेसिकली टेकिंग दैट काइंड ऑफ कंसीडरिंग द गुड क्वालिटी ऑफ द almond and ingested that particular almond. Basically that is not of a good quality. It is basically shined with the different kinds of the chemicals and mud, and we are unintentionally consumed that kind of chemicals and mud. Secondly, this is the one another cutting which reflects that the plastic से शरीर में पहुँचे 29 जहरीली केमिकल, तो 30 जहरीली केमिकल्स हमारे शरीर में जाते हैं. देन पनीर, मावा, दूध, सॉस, शरबत, चॉकलेट पाउडर सब में गड़बड़ी, तो भी चूना और कलर से मिक्स. So these are the things, these are the different cuttings. I just want to highlight these cuttings to know the seriousness of this concept of Garavisha. Second one is vegetable sauce. Nothing is left out. Everything is mixed with these coloring agents and starch and all these things. Second one is 1.5 साल में 1 लाख किलो नकली पनीर बेच चुका है. Now the paneer Then this is another cutting where there is adulteration found in the paneer by mixing with the powder and refined oil. Then काजू भी ऐसे से चमकाया जाता है ढाबों पर रोजाना सप्लाई. As you all know that we are taking lots of kaju curry and on dhaba, but we are not aware about the quality of the काजू. And इतना सारा काजू ढाबे पे बेचा जाता है, लेकिन वो लो क्वालिटी का ही होता है. वी आर नॉट अवेयर. 70-80 रुपए में आपको काजू करी मिल जाती है, 2 किलो डाले जाते हैं, लेकिन काजू किस क्वालिटी का होगा ये हम कभी नहीं सोचते. So we have to be think about that particular adulteration. Then official seals of 23,000 kilograms of inferior quality pickles. Now we are using the different types of the pickles. Nowadays the preparation of the pickles at a home is due to the busy schedule of the people. Pickles are not in our time. Our mother is used to make the pickles in the summer season. But nowadays this practice is completely vanishing. All are use ready-made pickles, but that pickles is also adulterate, or basically it is of inferior quality by mixing the different kinds of preservatives and the chemicals. Now another cutting which reflects that तेल और powder से बनाया जाता है पनीर. So such a poor quality paneer we are consuming in day-to-day life. Now this curious paneer में काफी सारा जो contamination है, जो adulteration है, वो आपको दिखाई देता है. So these are the different cuttings through which we can say that we are exposing to the n number of adulterants, food adulterants, chemicals, preservatives, mild potency toxins. And that's why it is very important to understand this concept of Garavisha, which is very important in today's perspective point of view. So now we are going to start with this exploration of the Garavisha to the Ayurveda. Now what is the concept of Garavisha in Ayurveda? As you all know, I'm not going in detail. This is the Nirukti of Gara, which is this Gara word is basically derived from the root word. It is used with suffix H, which means diluted or a reduced potency. So Gara is nothing but having the poison or having the combination, having a low potency, which is not up to that kind of a pattern, but it definitely imparts certain harmful effects on your body. So this Gara is basically a low potency poison basically. Even another meaning of this Gara is considered as a debilitate form or in a liquid form. If it is mixed with, due to its liquid form nature, it can be easily mixed with any kind of food. This is basically a Gara. And what is meant by the Visha? Again, being as the students of the Veda Tantra, you all know the Nirukti of the Visha. I am not going in detail, but basically this Visha is wish is to encompass or pervade or occupy. Whenever the things of a mild potency or having of a 10 gunas of the Visha get enter into the body, it first vitiates your Shonika, it first vitiates the Rakta, and then it spread out throughout the body, and according or depending upon the nature of that particular Visha. कुछ विषय जो होते हैं वो कार्डियोटॉक्सिक होते हैं, since they have that particular affinity to particular system or particular process, and that particular visha definitely affect that particular system. So this is basically the nirukti of a visha. So visha is basically emerged from the word visha and having a suffix ka, which made by this word visha. And what it basically do, substance that enters and vitiates the healthy dhatus. Means all the sapta dhatus and malas, if it gets vitiated, it is called as visha. So in a nutshell, you can say the Garavisha is of a mild potency toxin or having a alpha-virya visha, which we can say. Now what are the different opinions about the Garavisha? Now we will start with the opinion of the Ashtanga Hridaya and Ashtanga Sangra. Later the Sushruta and Tantra. Ashtanga Hridaya and Ashtanga Sangra emphasizes this concept of Garavisha very nicely, very broadly. And Ashtanga Hridaya and Ashtanga Sangra, these are the I think the updated version of the Ayurveda is basically from the Ashtanga Hridaya. Ashtanga Hridaya का अर्थ वाटपट्टा ही है systematically arrange the basic principles in the Sutra in basically the 30 chapters. So if you consider the systematic arrangement of the Ayurveda in a proper manner, Ashtanga Hridaya and Ashtanga Sangra is a worth I think a Compendia, Ayurveda Compendia, to use it to understand the Ayurveda in a systematic manner. So I first highlight the concept of Garavisha through Ashtanga Hridaya and Ashtanga Sangra later by the Shruta and Chandra. Now what the Ashtanga Hridayakar or Ashtanga Sangrakar says about the Garavisha. Now Ashtanga Hridaya or particularly Vagbhata, he mentions about the 15 Visha, about the Garavisha, that Sthavar and Jangam Visha, these are the two Vishas, types of the Vishas, which comes under the heading of this Akritrima Visha, that is a natural poison. Okay. And the Kritrim Vishas, which we call as an artificial poison or the man-made poison particularly, they are comes under the heading of this Garavisha. So Sthavaram Jangamam Cheti Visham Proktam Akritrimam. Kritrimam Garasaukyam tu Kriyate Vividha Aushadhi. So this Kriyate Vividha Aushadhi, there are lots of combinations they have mentioned in subsequent shlokas in the same chapter of this Uttara Tantra 35th chapter. But basically he emphasizes that these Garavishas are basically artificial poisons or Kritrim poisons. Basically it is a man-made poison. These are the Gara means the combinations of infinite combinations. There are 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 or 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. These are the different combinations. We cannot think about this combination. So these are the infinite numbers of the combinations which comes under this artificial poisons or the Kritrim Vishas, which we call as the Garavisha. And what is its impact or what is its effect on your body? That is the most important thing. And the Vagbhata clearly mentions that Anti Yoga Vashen Ashu Chira Tarat Chatat, means there are certain combinations of this Garavisha which may be the fatal effects acutely. Means there are certain acute manifestations if you ingest these Garavishas or these Gara combinations with having certain acute manifestations. There are certain manifestations which is chirat, means after some time period it gets manifested into our body, and chiratara means after some years or 15 years or 10 years or 20 years they are being manifested. So if you are taking these Garavishas in a small doses from today onwards, after 10 years or 15 years that will be manifested. So this kind of its journey is highlighted by the Vagbhatacharya in this particular shloka. So Hanti Yoga Vashenashu Chiratara. And what are the manifestations they have mentioned? Now they have just enlisted 4 or 5 the name of the diseases, that is Shof, Pandu, Udara, Unmad, Durnam, Adina, Karotiva. Means it might be manifested as in the form of a Shof or a Pandu or a Udara or Unmad or a Durnam, or as well as Arsha we can say, and Adina, Karotiva. So these are the Ukta manifestations of the Garavisha. Anukta manifestations are in number, are infinite. And nowadays, being as an Vishwavaidya, it's our duty to find out this Anukta Samprapti, which is basically caused by this Garavisha. They have enlisted the very broader Samprapti, that is Shop. Shop is a very big Samprapti, in which the Garavisha can be plays an important role for occurring this Shopa Samprapti. Pandu Samprapti, it is also a very big Samprapti. Udara Samprapti, Unmad. Under the Unmad, there are lots of psychological disorders, or the whole psychiatry comes under this Unmad Vyadhi basically. So Unmad is nothing but it is, though we are considering it as a Vyadhi, but it is not a Vyadhi, it is a Samprapti, under which a lots of psychological disorders comes under this particular Samprapti. So this kind of a Sampraptis or this kind of a disease manifestations can be occur due to this Garavisha. So this is the nutshell description mentioned by the Vagbhatacharya in Ashtanga Hridaya particular. Now they have mentioned that Kritrimam Garasaudyam tu Kriyate Vividha Aushadhi. Now this Vividha Aushadhi, Kriyate Vividha Aushadhi. Now they have mentioned the different kinds of the combinations. And what are those combinations? That is Ataiva Vividhani Vangshamanani Aushadhani Yasmin Tadaiva. This is in a Sarvanga Sundar commentary. which is mentioned in context of this, that Vangshamani means he has subsequently mentioned that kind of a combination. And what are those combinations? That Nana Prani Angashaman, Viruddha Ushadhi Bhashmanam, Vishanam Chalpaviryanam, Yogo Gara Iti Smriti. Now, in ancient time, they are using such kind of a yoga or the combinations. Nowadays, the scenario is changed. Nowadays, the people are exposing to the different kinds of the toxins. But at that time, they are using such kind of a yoga or the combination, and which is labeled as a Garesh. So at that time, that is their observation. That what they are basically using, they are using the Nana Prani Anga. Nana Prani Anga, Shamal. Shamal means the fecal excreta or the urine or the menstrual blood or anything. So they are using the different parts of the animals. They are using the different excreta of the animals. It might be a fecal matter, it might be a urine, it might be a sweat, it might be a menstrual flow, anything can be. And that is being used in ancient time for making this Gara Yoga. Okay. Now, Viruddha Ushadhi Bhasmana. Now, this is also very relevant concept. Irrespective of your prakriti, irrespective of your desh, irrespective of the soil, if you are not consuming the appropriate medicines, that become Viruddha. Now, what happens in allopathy, particularly in a modern point of view, say they are not care about the prakriti of a person. They are not care about the kal in which time period we are giving the medicine. Suppose a person will suffer from the diabetes or the to having the raised blood sugar level. Irrespective of the prakriti, desh, kal, rutu, avastha, even vaya, they are giving the insulin or some anti-diabetic medicines, irrespective of the these dusham, desham, balam, kalam, analam, what the criteria we have. So that also become a viruddha because because they are not aware about this kind of a thing. But being as an Ayurveda Acharya, we consider all the things. We consider all the 10 things before administration of the medicine. But if you are not following that things, if you are not considering these things, it becomes viruddha. It becomes harmful. It becomes garvish to your body. Like suppose if you are taking the dugdha in Amavastha, it becomes poison to you. It becomes garvish or it becomes a gara yoga when you consume that particular dugdha in Amavastha condition. So that is the most important thing. If you are not getting hungerness and if you are taking a food, it also become a wish. So it acts as a basically a garage. So these are the thinking mentioned in Ayurveda, but it is not mentioned in the contemporary point of view, or particularly in allopathy or in homeopathy. I don't know in homeopathy, but in allopathy they are completely reluctant about this kind of a concept. But if you are not following these concepts, definitely that particular aushadha, that particular ahara, it becomes a gara. Now Vishanam Chalpavirya. Now basically whatever the things they are mentioned in the shloka, it is in a encrypted form, in a code language. Now see the if you have to explore this word particularly, Vishanam Chalpavirya. Now they have mentioned the any Alpavirya Visha. It comes under this in this context of Gara. Now nowadays what happens? We are exposing to n number of Alpavirya Visha unintentionally, to the ingestional route, to the inhalational route, to the thermal route. So many route of exposures are there, and so n number of Alpavirya Visha we are in day-to-day life we are exposing. So all these are the basically a form of a gara. So they have mentioned the gara yogas in a very limited form, but the expansion of this gara combination is huge in the present contemporary time period. So this is basically they have mentioned as a different yoga combinations which we call as a gara. So Nana Prani Angashamala Viruddha Ushadhi Bhasmana Vishanam Chalpaviryanam Yogo Gariti. And even further, the Vagbhatacharya in Ashtanga Hridaya and Ashtanga Sandra, even Charkacharya also mentioned the same thing, that in ancient time जो राजा था या फिर जो स्त्रियाएं थी अपने पति को वश में करने के लिए जनरली क्या करती थी, दे आर मिक्स दीज अल्पवीर्य विषाद, डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स ऑफ द योगास व्हिच वी कॉल एज अ गर इन आहार, गरम आहार संपृक्तम यच्छन्ति आसन्नवर्तिनः. So this is the practices commonly doing in that particular time period also, and nowadays also it happens. जैसे अभी देखिए कि सुशांत सिंह का केस हम देख ही रहे हैं. She has giving काफी सारी चर्चाएं हो रही है. She is giving so many things which is mixed with the coffee, which is mixed with the food materials. So these are the common practices practicing at that time also and at present time. Now this is the thing. The same shlokas is mentioned by the Charkacharya also. They are mentioned certain another things, that is Sveda, Rajo, Nana, Angajan, Malan, शत्रु प्रयुक्ताच्च गदान प्रयच्छन्ति अन्न मिश्रिता. मतलब खाने में ही जनरली स्वेद, रज, नाना प्राणियों के जो मल थे, जो अंग थे, उसका प्रयोग जो है वो खाने में शत्रु को परास्त करने के लिए, शत्रु को अपने वश में करने के लिए या अपने पति को अपने वश में करने के लिए स्त्रियां या फिर मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम लेडीज का एक प्रयोग जमाने में किया जाता है. And what the commentary tells, particularly in Indutika, in context of this particular shlok, that is garam vangshamana vishesham vishesha visham ahara sampruktam aharena sayuktam aharena shabdena adyamanam sakalam api vastu jatam griyate. Now this sakalam api vastu jatam griyate is the most important word. And what is meant by this sakalam api vastu jatam griyate? So sakalam api vastu jatam means the different forms of the ahara. It might be either a shita, might be a pita, leader, or khadita. Nowadays, these are the very relevant things, since we are exposing to the n number of toxins today, to the eatable atoms, to the liquid food atoms, the linkens food atoms, or to the masticable food atoms. So these are the very relevant concept in today's perspective time. So basically, in ancient times, they have particularly mentioned that we have to administer these gara vishas, these gara yogas through the ahara. And ahara में क्या है? तो सकलम अपि वस्तु जातम. Everything which considered as ahara, whether it is a liquid food, whether it is a solid food, or whether it is a linkous food or masticable food, anything that could be mixed with this kind of gara vishas, and we can administer the gara vishas through these aharas particularly. So this is the concept of Bhagavatarya about the gara visha. Now, what are the combinations? The food, particularly the various combinations of the gara vishas that has been administered to the ahara. The same things they have mentioned, that is Nana Prani Anga Shamala Viruddhoshati Basmanam Vishanam Chalpa Vidyanam Yogo Gareti, where the Indutika they have mentioned the different things. Means you can elaborate so many. मतलब एक animal लेके उसके अलग-अलग parts या फिर एक animal उसके अलग-अलग excretas, ऐसे combination अगर आप बनाएंगे तो there are lots of infinite number of combinations we can make. Okay. At the same time, Vishanam Chalpa Vidyanam, ऐसे कितने ही अल्पवीर्य विषय we can point it out, we can choose out and make the infinite number of the combinations, and we can prepare these gara yogas and administer in the ahara. Now we are taking the opinion of the Sushruta. What Sushruta, in context of the first chapter, he has mentioned the gara visham prayachanti. Yes, we can administer the gara vishas through these particular routes also. That is अन्न का हमने देख लिया, पानी, अन्ने पाने दोनों ही चीजें जो है वो आहार में आ गई. सकलम वस्तु जातम गृह्यते. तो अन्न और पान जो है उसमें से हम gara vish दे सकते. That is another thing. But nowadays what happens? दंत काष्ठे तथा अभ्यंगे अवलेखने उत्सादने कषाये च परिषेके अनुलेपने क्रंशु वस्त्रेषु शय्यासु कवचा आभरणेषु च पादुका पादपीठेषु पृष्ठेषु गजवाजिनां विषजुष्टेषु अन्नेषु नस्य धूमाञ्जनादिषु लक्षणानि प्रवक्ष्यामि चिकित्सामपि अनन्तरम्. Now, at that time, in a Sushrut time period, basically, these are the mediators through which we can administer the gara visha to the particular person. Now what happens in today's perspective time also, we are exposing to the n number of toxicants, n number of the xenobiotics through these kinds of the means these are the mediators through which we are exposing to the Garavishal. So the same thing they have mentioned in the ancient time, and at present also we are exposing to these kinds of the mediators. These are the different modes of the administration of the Garavishal, which is mentioned by the Sushruta. And now this is what we are basically presently we are found that we are taking the process and canned foods, we are taking the preservatives and the additives, we are taking the food adulterants, there are the flavoring and the coloring agents, artificial sweeteners, fruit ripening chemicals. So what is this thing? This is Anne and Pan. We are taking even the carbonated cold drinks we are taking nowadays. So what is this? We are basically consuming a basically this is the Alpavirya Visha. These are the preservatives, canned food, additives, food adulterants, coloring agents, flavoring agents, artificial sweeteners, food ripening chemicals, the pesticides contaminated vegetables, fruits, all these are the Manda Virya Vishal, and we are consuming to the Anna and to the Pan. Then carbonated cold drinks are there, agriculture pesticides and fertilizers. To polluted air, there are n number of pollutants. Recently, there is if you just search on Google, in a DNA analysis they have mentioned there is a one series, the DNA analysis which Chaudhary has telecasted on a news channel, where they have mentioned the different pollutants, how they are deposited in your brain and how they are responsible for the Alzheimer's disease. So what is this basically? The different pollutants. These are the alpha or Manda Virya Vishal, which enters into a body through the different routes, and then they have the sthana sanshaya in a particular organ, and then they manifest it into the different disease conditions. Okay, polluted water, cosmetics. Now there are so many cosmetics, lipsticks. If you heard one lecture on by the B.M. Hegde sir, lipstick is the most common causative factor for the ovarian cancer. You just search on a Google by the name of B.M. Hegde and the use of lipsticks or the use of the harmful effects of the lipstick, and then you just find out the what are the harmful effects of this lipstick. So cosmetic products, even we are using this perfumes or the deodorants, where the large amount of this naphthalene is used, which having a dermal penetration and it enters into the systemic circulation, and it is responsible for the n number of the disease conditions. So these kind of the chemicals through the cosmetic products, as we are using like mascaras, eyeliners, so many things we are using, even the different body lotions or the different creams we are using, in which the different types of the chemicals are being used, and indirectly through the dermal zone it gets enter into the systemic circulation and is responsible for the n number of disease conditions. And unintentionally we are not aware about these harmful effects. But being as a Vishwavidyas, being as a specialist, particularly in Agatandra subjects, we have to be aware about their side effects and what could be the possible management, what could be the possible way out to side by to protect ourselves from this toxins. That is our responsibility. Now the medicines also plays a very important role. Even in Ayurveda also, the improper prepared bhasmas, or if you are not following the proper procedures for the bhasma preparation, definitely that also become a viruddha for our body. Okay, so medicines, irrespective of the dushya, desha, kala, bala, prakriti, we are giving the medicines to the person. So that becomes also a Garavishal. Different addictive things like tobacco, cigarette, or alcohol, or the psychosomatic drugs. These are particularly also considered as Alpavirya Vishal, and they may also consider as a Garavishal. Now Viruddhahara, this is another concept which we can consider as a Garavishal. In Sutrasthan of Ashtanga Hridaya, Sutrasthan 7th chapter, they have mentioned that Viruddham api cha aharam vidyat vishagarupam. Means whatever the harmful effects imparted by this Viruddhahara, it is synonymously with this Garavishal. So Viruddhahara is nothing but the Garavishal. can consider, we can incorporate this Viruddhahara, and there are 18 types of the Viruddhahara. And being as an, I just see a lots of Ayurvedic physicians, not Ayurvedic physicians, but lots of the people from the Ayurveda domain itself, they are taking or they are consuming the Viruddha, they are taking the curd at night, they are not bothered about it, they are taking the so many things related to Dahi or Vidhi Viruddha, Kala Viruddha. So 18 types of Viruddha we are day-to-day life we are practicing, and we are not bothered, we are not worried about that particular thing. But basically that acts as a Garavisha. Even the wrong dietary habits, that is Viruddha, Adhyasana, Ajirna, Shilona, Vishalakshana. Like if you are taking the Viruddhashan, Adhyashan or Ajirnashan, that definitely produce the arm formation, and that also having the same effects like of a Garavisha. So that can also be considered as a Garavisha. Now, if you are taking the opinion of the Sushrutas, he has mentioned in context of Pita Visha that Yoge Nana Vidhi Esham Churnani Garam Adishet Dushi Visha Prakaranam Tatha Chapya Anudasana. Now, I'm quoting here the commentary of the Dalhana also, where he Dalhana in his commentary on Sushruta Sahita tells the opinion of Alamban. Alamban is the one Rishi who mentioned this Garavisha particularly, where he used different parts of the Hitas for the Anulepana, for the external application. And beyond that, he says that if you are using these yogas of different Hita Vishas, or particularly different parts of the Hitas for the Anulepana or for the external application, that might be considered as that might be converted into the Dushi Vish. So they are using basically the Alambana use the different Gara yogas for Anulepan, and this particular external application of this Gara, they are basically means they are particularly absorbed to the dermal route into the systemic circulation and might be reflected as the symptoms of a Dushi Vish. So the dermal, particularly this shloka, quotes that the Garavisha can be administered to the Anulepana also. And Anulepana means again the different cosmetic products are using. We are using the different cosmetic products as an Anulepana form, and so the dermal route it enters into our body. So this is the thing I am highlighting here. Now, what is the opinion of the Chakrapani? Just a minute. What is the opinion of the Chakrapani? Chakrapani in the Charaka Samhita, particularly in shlok number 14, Garasayogajam Chanyat Garasaudyam Gadapradam Kalantra Vipakatva Natad Ashu Bharatkasya. Now what basically he has mentioned that there is means he has mentioned a Sthavar and a Jangam Visha, and the third one is he mentioned as a Sayogaja Visha, that is Garasayogaja Visha. And he has mentioned these Gara Sayogajas in a different way. This Garam to Dvidam, Nirvisha Dravya Sayogakruta and Savisha Dravya Sayogakruta. So what is, according to Chakrapani, there is two types of the Garavisha. One is Nirvisha Dravya Sayogakruta, means there are the combination of a Nirvisha Dravya and there is a combination of Savisha Dravya also. So these combinations are infinite. Means if you are taking two non-poisonous substances mixed together like madhu and gluta in equal quantity, it becomes a poison or it becomes harmful to your body. Okay, like the Savisha Dravya Sayogakruta means if you are taking the two Alpavirya or Mandavirya Visha and mixed together, they are also considered as the Garavisha. So such kind of infinite combinations we in day-to-day life we are basically facing. Now this is just like a क्या बोल सकते हैं, it's a big infinite combinations we can. There are the number of combination and permutations for this Garavisha, this Nana Prani Anga Shamala. So there is a endless means there are lots of scope for you, like a today's perspective time period. the peoples are using for means suppose a particular person who wants to make a paneer, adulterated paneer or a low quality paneer, he using so many different things. अलग अलग लोगों के दिमाग में अलग अलग चीजें आएंगी और अलग अलग कॉम्बिनेशन और परम्यूटेशन जो है वो बनते जाएंगे और ऐसे गर्विश हम इनफाइनाइट नंबर्स में हम लेते जाएंगे. So it depends on the इंडिविजुअल पर्सन, उस पर्सन की सोच क्या है, उसको क्या मिलता है और किस प्रकार से वो अल्पविलीय विषय जो है वो अलग अलग कॉम्बिनेशन से और परम्यूटेशन से वो यूज करता है. that depends on the mentality of that particular person, that which kind of a visha he is using, which kind of drugs or which kind of things he are using for making such kind of bad practices. Now, understanding this is whole concept of the Garavisha in Ayurvedic point of view, and the whole thing is nowadays is very common or very relevant in today's perspective time period. Now, how this is very relevant in today's contemporary time period, we are looking nowadays. Now, so understanding the concept of Garavisha or Kritrim Visha from contemporary point of view. Now, this is basically in today's terminology. At ancient time, it is mentioned as a Garavisha, and in today's perspective time, we can label it as a xenobiotic. Now, what is meant by xenobiotics? Xenos means a foreigner or a stranger or a guest or a friend, and bios means which is of pertaining to the life, which is foreign to the body, human body. What the Garavishas are also, these are the different combinations which is foreign to our body. That is a man-made combination. In ancient time, these are the man-made combinations. At that time, they are using the Nana Prani Anga Shamala Viruddha Aushadhi or Alpavidya Visha. Nowadays, we are using the different synthetic agents or the chemicals or anything or any substance which is foreign to you, which is stranger to you. Repeat नहीं आ रही है. अब आ रही है क्या? So xenobiotics basically stop sharing करो. So what is the present concept of this Garavisha in present contemporary time period is xenobiotic. So xenobiotic is basically derived from the word xenos and bios. Xenos means a foreigner, stranger or a guest, and bios means pertaining to the life. So this xenobiotic literally means anything which is foreign to the body. It can be referred to any chemical that is not natural component of the body. So it is a man-made thing basically. The term xenobiotic is often understood as an artificial substances which did not exist in nature before their synthesis by the human. The term, however, is typically used in the context of any synthetic chemical that has no beneficial effects on the body. And there are n number of examples of the xenobiotics in present contemporary time period, like synthetic drugs are there, different foreign chemicals, food additives, coloring agents, pesticides, preservatives, environmental pollutants, and the list is endless list is there. Now what are the sources of the xenobiotics? As you all know, the agriculture is a very big source for exposing this the xenobiotics. Now we are using the pesticides, we are using the herbicides, we are using the chemical granules for making or for getting a maximum yield of the crops or the fruits or the vegetables, and for that we are using unintentionally this large number of pesticides and herbicides. When I was in a PG, I heard a lecture of the Gupta Kumar, where in a Kerala, the Kasaragod district, basically for they are using this. There is a huge plantation of huge forming of these cashew plants, and for that they are sprinkling these organophosphorus compounds for getting a maximum number of the cashew. And for that they are sprinkling these pesticides in a large quantity, and that pesticides mixed with the soils and the water, and then gradually that particular harmful effects manifested among the people who are living around that particular area. So this is the manifestation of this Garavishas or this particular xenophoetics in a human body. This is the big source where we are exposing to the n number of xenophoetics. Medicine. Now the synthetic medicine is a big pharma industry. I think I again request to all the listeners to go search on the Google and just type the bad sides of the medicines. Even the Dr. B.M. Hegde, being as a renowned cardiologist, being from the allopathic domain, he highlighted the bad sides of this medicines. So you just Google their lectures and listen their lectures. It's really a worth listening lectures, and then it's an eye opener. Basically, it's eye-opening lectures where they have highlighted the bad side of this medicine. The food industry. Nowadays, basically, the population is so big in India, and the requirement is people want a much more food. The requirement is for getting a proper or getting a proper kind of a food for getting a proper quality food. Basically, it's very difficult to provide a proper quality food to each and every one. And so what happens? The malpractices is going on, and that's why the people are doing or mixing lots of food adulterants और getting a maximum is पनीर बनाना है. अब दूध है ही नहीं इतना, तो दूध है नहीं इतना तो फिर क्या करेंगे? They are using the artificial different milk powders, or they are using the different chemicals for making this paneer, mawa, and so many things. So food industry is the big source for exposing these xenophoetics, where they are using the additives, coloring agents. Energy industries, there are lots of industries are going through which the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, lots of air pollutants, lots of water pollutants, lots of soil pollutants are mixed in the environment, and unintentionally we are exposing to that kind of xenophoetics. Transportation, we are using a lots of most of the vehicles they are emitted out different harmful poisonous gases to the environment, like nitrogen oxide, lead, carbon dioxide. That also a source of the xenophoetics. Consumer industry, the plastics, coatings, dyes, so many things we are using. So these are the various sources, and these are the examples where we are exposing to the xenophoetics. Now, exposure to some xenophoetics is voluntary because of their anticipated beneficiary effects on the human health. Now, same thing. The patient who is suffering from the hypertension, they have to definitely advise by the doctor, allopathic doctor, that you have to take these antihypertensive drugs for the lifetime period. There are so many patients who have taken the anti-diabetic medicines or the insulin, but still they have developed in a later stage of life, that is diabetic nephropathy, diabetic retinopathy, diabetic neuropathy. So what is this thing? Irrespective of the rasa, we are not even bothered. We are not finding out the hetu skandha also, that this kind of a medicines can be one of the emerging hetu for the different disease conditions. If you consider the rasa of that particular antibiotic, most of the antibiotics, they are of having a tikta rasa, and if you are taking or consuming this tikta rasa for a long duration of a period, so definitely the tikta rasa atisevana janya vyadhis are there, that is vat vyadhi, dhatuksha janya vyadhis are there, and that is manifested in a diabetic patient in the form of diabetic nephropathy, diabetic retinopathy, diabetic neuropathy. But we are not asking the questions to those people, that still if you are taking these anti-diabetic medications or the insulin, still your blood sugar is in a control, but after that also the diabetic retinopathy or the diabetic neuropathy or the diabetic nephropathy develops. Why? because of these, because of the consumption of these xenobiotics. So I'm not bothered that drugs also considered as a xenobiotic specifically. Even the B.M. Hegde sir, he's called this particular medicine as a toxic pills. You know, they label these medicines, whether it is Rantacid, whether it is antibiotic or anything, they are labeled it as a toxic pills, and we are unintentionally taking with due to some small sort of a beneficial effects, we are taking the stocks. Now, the types of the xenobiotics, there are two types of the xenobiotics, as we all know, that is exogenous xenobiotics. The list is here. The endogenous xenobiotics, which we call as autobiotics, basically. Now, we are taking, as we all know, there are lots of examples of the exogenous xenobiotics, but we are much, particularly in Ayurvedic point of view or in Ayurveda point of view, the AMA concept is nothing but the autobiotics basically. What particularly this AMA concept, this is also synonymously used as a Visha. Even if there is a Vegavarodha, if you are not expel out your fecal matter properly, there is a very wonderful article where it states that there are near about 2,000 harmful toxic poisons or toxic chemicals particularly found in the fecal matter, and if that particular fecal matter is not excreted out daily, it again absorbs into the systemic circulation, and that may impart the harmful effects to our body. So it's very essential to excrete or the praskrushna vinmutre, the daily excretion of the fecal matter, daily excretion of the urine is very important. But there are lots of people who don't have, they are not bothered that 2 दिन के बाद भी अगर कोई लैट्रिन जाता है या 3 दिन के बाद भी कोई मल प्रवृत्ति के लिए जाता है, people are not worried about that thing. But हमारा मलमूत्र विसर्जन हर रोज सुबह सुबह होना ही चाहिए. That is the most common practice. But in the foreign countries, people are not bothered. 2 दिन के बाद, 3 दिन के बाद, कुछ पेशेंट्स ऐसे होते हैं 7-7 दिन भी नहीं जाते हैं. Still, they don't have any botheration about it. But just imagine if the fecal matter, if it is not excreted from the body for the 7 days, there are a number of toxins present in that particular fecal matter, and it is not excreted out, that absorb into the systemic circulation, and depending upon the fate of that particular toxicant, they impart the harmful effects on different systems of our body. That is the most important thing. So this is a concept of the endogenous hetotoxins also. So these are the types of the xenobiotics. Now, fate of the xenobiotics. Now, if the person is exposed to the xenobiotics, it gets entered into the body, like the ingestional route or inhalational route or the dermal penetration. Then it gets absorbed into the bloodstream. To the bloodstream, it first digested or first metabolized in the liver. वहाँ पे पूरा मेटाबॉलिज्म होने के बाद, लीवर में मेटाबोलाइज होने के बाद भी अगर वो डाइजेस्ट नहीं होता है, then it distributed throughout the body tissues and the organs, where the different biotransformations and conjugations happens, and then it will be excreted out from the body. But if not, this procedure is hampered, or if it is not properly metabolized, or if it is not biotransfer, there are certain lipophilic xenobiotics particularly. Okay, there are certain hydrophilic, there are certain lipophilic. So lipophilic xenobiotics are very difficult to digest, difficult to metabolize particularly. And if it is not metabolized properly, it will store in a different parts of the body or in a different system, and then it imparts certain toxic symptoms in our body. So this is the fate of the xenobiotics. Now the responses of the xenobiotics in the body. Now we all know that whenever the toxicant enters into our body, the prediction of the response is largely based on the known toxicological effect of each chemical independently. जब हमारे शरीर में कोई भी xenobiotic, कोई भी हो, कोई कलरिंग एजेंट हमारे शरीर में जा रहा है या कोई प्रिजर्वेटिव हमारे शरीर में जा रहा है, so basically the contemporary time period what the research is going on, कोई केमिकल या कोई प्रिजर्वेटिव जो है वो एनिमल मॉडल पे इंड्यूस कर दो, उसके साइड इफेक्ट्स हमारे बॉडी में क्या क्या होते हैं, जस्ट ऑब्जर्व इट, है ना. तो अब हमारे शरीर हम जो है वी आर बेसिकली नॉट एक्सपोजिंग टू अ वन इंडिविजुअल केमिकल और वन इंडिविजुअल टॉक्सिक, वी आर एक्सपोजिंग टू द n number of toxicants through the different routes like ingestional route, inhalational route or the dermal route. Okay, and when it enters into our body and when they are mixed together, then the amalgamation is formed, then the fate of that particular amalgamation is different. So what basically we are learning or we are understanding the effect of that particular independent chemical on the animal models. When it enters into the body, the fate gets completely changed. The metabolism of that particular chemical is completely changed, and then what would be the effect? What would be the harmful effect of that particular chemical, or when that chemical binds with another chemical, and then what amalgamation is formed and how it gets metabolized and what that particular combination imparts the effect. That is the different questions, and we are not able to understand that thing. So it's very difficult to identify that kind of side effects in a subtle level. It's very difficult. So toxicants in the body may act independently of each other. Even the toxicants may also affect the body's response to the other toxicants. जैसे मानो कोई एक टॉक्सिकेंट है, वो इंडिविजुअली शरीर में चला गया, उसने कुछ हार्मफुल इफेक्ट किया, और दूसरा टॉक्सिकेंट हमारे शरीर में चला गया, वो टॉक्सिकेंट की वजह से वो ज़्यादा सीवियर हो जाता है. ऐसे भी काफ़ी सारे एग्जांपल्स आपको मिलेंगे कि कोई पर्टिकुलर टॉक्सिकेंट के कॉम्बिनेशन के बाद ही ज़्यादा सीवियर हो जाता है. So the toxicant may also affect the body's response to the other toxicants. Toxicants may also affect the body's normal chemicals present in the body. There are different chemicals may act or interact in a number of different ways to produce their effects in the body. So different chemicals having different fates, different mechanism of actions, or even the affinity to different systems. It depends on that particular chemical. Last one is they produce the independent effects, physiologically similar or additive effects, or the antagonistic effects, or the synergistic effects, or the potentiating effects. So that particular independent chemical, they have the different types of the independent effects also, physiological similar or the additive effects also, antagonistic effects also, synergistic effects also, or the potentiating effects also. Now what is the independent effect? Suppose there is a metal cadmium enter into the body, which having the affinity towards the kidney, which imparts the renal injury. If the metal cadmium enters into our body, that particular imparts or they are particularly make a renal injury. If we are taking the organophosphate pesticide that is called as malathion, that makes certain changes in the nervous system. So the individual chemical having individual effect on the different parts of the body. Okay. Now the physiologically similar or the additive effects. Now suppose a particular one person who is exposed to the two different organophosphate pesticides. Okay. Now दो organophosphate pesticides हमारे शरीर में enter हो चुके हैं. Now if they are mixed together, so definitely their additive effects much more grave, much more harmful as compared to the individual chemical. So such kind of additive effects may also impart in our body. Antagonistic effects, there are certain pesticides enters into our body, but at the same time if you are taking its antagonist simultaneously, so its side effect or its toxic effect may be nullified or may be minimized. So such kind of antagonistic effect of the xenobiotics may also impart into the body. Synergistic effect, suppose the ethyl alcohol and carbon tetrachloride are toxic to the liver individually. However, their combined effect results in more injury than the summation of their individual effects. So this is the thing, the alcohol or carbon tetrachloride, if you are taking independently, they have the bad effects on the liver. But when they are taking in a combined form, definitely they have a summation effect or a synergistic effect, which is much more injurious to the liver as compared to the individual effect. So this is the synergistic effect. Now, this is just an example. You are exposing to the n number of xenobiotics, and when it enters into our body through the different routes, बॉडी में किस प्रकार के कॉम्बिनेशन और फॉर्मुलेशन बनते हैं, इट इज बियॉन्ड अवर लिमिटेशन. वी कैन नॉट अंडरस्टूड इट. It is very difficult to measure at a subtle level. It's very difficult, very difficult. Then the potentiating effect in the presence of isopropyl alcohol, which alone does not produce significant liver injury. There is a greatly increased cytotoxicity from the carbon tetrachloride. So this is a potentiating effect. मतलब itself isopropyl alcohol is not produce significant liver injury, but if it is given along with this carbon tetrachloride, it definitely have a much more chances to produce the hepatotoxic effects if you are given it with the carbon tetrachloride. Now, what are the possible adverse effects of the toxicity? So, I am just telling the things कि ये जो केमिकल्स हमारे शरीर में जाते हैं, जो भी हम एनिमल मॉडल्स पे या इन विट्रो स्टडीज हम आज एट प्रेजेंट हम कर रहे हैं, वी आर जस्ट इंड्यूसिंग वन पर्टिकुलर xenobiotic एंड ऑब्जर्विंग द सो कॉल्ड एंटीऑक्सीडेंट इफेक्ट ऑफ वन पर्टिकुलर drug on that particular animal model, but it's a very wrong practice basically. But still, for getting the scientific data, we are doing such kind of experiment, and that should be performed. But that is not so doesn't have a such much more relevance basically, because the human physiology is completely different, the animal physiology is completely different, the type of exposures, the type of habitat is completely different, the stress factor is completely different. So there are so many variations, particularly the animal model and a human model. And if you are studying this kind of effects of the xenobiotics on the animal models, and the same observation if you are applying on the human body, it's difficult to apply the same thing. But still, lots of researches is going on the xenobiotics, and individual xenobiotics is assessing, is studying basically what that particular xenobiotic state is there, and what are the side effects of that particular xenobiotic are there. Now, what are the possible adverse effects of this xenobiotics or the toxins? So these are the different things we are taking very fastly. That is enzyme. Now this is the again the xenobiotic activity in the immune system, that what this xenobiotics makes the harmful effects on your body, like autoimmunity or the hypersensitivity. It is responsible for the oxygen free radicals, or the it particularly generates the free oxygen radicals. There is a direct effect on the immune system. There is a direct effect on the humoral immune system. It is responsible for the immune alteration. It may act as an antigen. It may having a cell-mediated immune response. So these are the different actions of the xenobiotics, particularly the immune system. At the same time, there are certain possible adverse effects of the xenobiotics on these different mechanisms, like the enzyme inhibition, there is a cytotoxicity, there is the inflammation, like a local or a systemic response. There is a covalent binding electrophilic metabolism to the DNA. Necrosis. This xenobiotics is particularly responsible for the n number of tissue death. There is a immune-mediated hypersensitivity reaction. Due to these xenobiotics, the immune-mediated hypersensitivity reactions may take place. It is responsible for the immunosuppression. It is responsible for the mutagenesis or the DNA alteration. It is also responsible for the different cancer pathologies. It is responsible for the lipid peroxidation, which is ultimately responsible for the free radical oxidation of the fatty acids, leading to the cellular injury or the death. Even there is a it also hampers the receptor interactions. So there are so many arenas or so many systems are affected due to these xenobiotics, and there is a lots of material we can found on the internet which particularly emphasizes that how this xenobiotics changes the different pathways. Like this is a one article which shows there is the effect of the xenobiotics and the steroids on the renal and hepatic estrogen metabolism in a lake trout. There is the impact of the xenobiotics in crustaceans molting, the invisible endocrine disruption. Now, the hormonal disorders. Nowadays, the different hormonal disorders are increasingly day by day. Why? Because of this exposure to the xenobiotics. And basically, it is very difficult to identify that what basically happens at a endocrine level or particularly at a hormonal level, because these observations are very minor and it's very difficult to assess in a parameters also. Now, effects of the xenobiotics and steroids on the renal and hepatic estrogen metabolism. Now, cytotoxicity. This is the one domain where the xenobiotics imparts the harmful effects, which states that the xenobiotic compounds modulate the cytotoxicity of AB amyloids and interact with the neuroprotective Chaper-1L PGDS. Now, xenobiotic induced inflammation. Now, this xenobiotic plays a very important role for the inflammation, for induction of the inflammation, like particularly the Shuddh Samprapti. Then the receptor interactions. Xenobiotics, there are so many receptors. Whatever the actions is going to take place in our body, it is particularly happens at the receptor level. So xenobiotics disturb these receptor interactions also, and that might be responsible for so many disease conditions where the receptor interaction is involved. Then necrosis or the tissue death. The xenobiotics plays a very important role where there is a tissue death may occur. Lipid peroxidation. Mostly these xenobiotics plays a very important role for the free radical oxidation. Whenever we are exposing to the xenobiotics, it definitely produces the oxidative stress in our body, which is responsible for generation of the free radicals, and these free radicals are responsible for the n number of cellular injuries or the death, particularly the liver injury like alcohol. Alcohol, if you are consuming the alcohol for a long period of time, definitely it induces the free radicals, and the free radicals are responsible for the liver cell injury. So this is the thing. Now the free radicals intermediate of drugs and the xenobiotics. Now there are lots of studies are going on this particular aspect of the xenobiotics, and it's our responsibility to understand these terminologies and understand that how we can serve for these kind of manifestations to the Ayurveda. That is the most important thing. Then the effect of the xenobiotics on the immune system. Now it might be manifested in the two types, that is immunosuppression or the immune-mediated hypersensitivity reaction. There are lots of people who are having the history of the Shita Pitta or Udarda, and if you are asking the hetu of the particular patient, कोई बताता नहीं कि भाई वो ना curd खा रहा है ना कुछ खा रहा है, but still they have the Shita Pitta like Samprapti or Udarda like Samprapti. So what would be the possible reason? So it's our duty to identify the new emerging issues. जो हमारे शास्त्र में पुराने जो हेतु स्कंद जो बताया है, that is no doubt, it is very useful. You have to identify that hetu skanda also. But at the same time, this is a new bunch of hetu skanda in the form of Visha, in the form of Garavisha, in the form of xenobiotics, which having the effect on the different systems, and that might be manifested in a different disease conditions. So it is very essential to understand this, to understand the different side effects of this xenobiotics. That's why there are lots of articles which reflects that there is a harmful effects or the toxicological effect of this xenobiotics on the immune system. There is a capacity of a toxic agents to compromise the immune system, that is the biological markers of the immunosuppression. These are certain articles I am just showing because it is, if you are arranging a separate lectures and you are throwing the lights that how this particular xenobiotic affects a particular system and how the Ayurveda plays an important role in that particular xenobiotic induced side effect on that particular system. So it took a different a lecture basically. Individual system, individual xenobiotics and its harmful effect, and what could be the possible way out to tackle to the Ayurveda is a different part of the discussion. I'm not going into deep into that aspect, but I'm just highlighting that what the xenobiotics can make a harmful effects in our body at a different system level. Now, the allergic and the autoimmune reactions to the xenobiotics, how they arise. So the different pathologies, and if you really want to understand these concepts in a very deeper manner, that how this xenobiotics act on the different system, I think these articles will be helpful for you. And I think Google पे आप सर्च करोगे तो आपको काफी सारी चीजें जो है वो आपको मिलेंगी. Now there are the environmental xenobiotic exposure and the autoimmunity. Now the autoimmune disorders, it is a very emerging the research domain where we can find out the answers that why this particular autoimmunity develops. Because in the allopathic domain, or particularly in the allopathic field, still they are not able to identify the exact causative factor, that what is the reason behind this autoimmunity. But being as an Ayurvedic physicians, we have to understand that these are the different xenobiotics that might be comes under the category or the comes under this spectrum of this Garavishya, and how along with this Garavishya, along with this Agantush Hetus, how the Nija Hetus and this Agantush Hetus comes together, and how this autoimmune, how we can frame out the sampraptis for this autoimmunity. That is another area of the research also.
नाही ना ग बॉक्स आहे ना.
Particularly this environmental xenobiotics
roll
play a
method.
very important
It's
role
extra
for the
consulting मध्ये
autoimmunity, for the
थोड्या
development of this autoimmunity.
आणि
There is the
ऐक
definite
सगळ्या
cause.
प्रकारचे जे संपले असतील
There are certain mutagenic changes, like if the person is exposed to the n number of, now the cancer is now generally regarded as a disease caused by the accumulated alterations of the gene in somatic cells. So cancer nowadays it is nothing but the DNA alterations. And how this DNA alteration occurs, there are different forms of the DNA damage, and due to this DNA damage the cancer pathologies occurs. Now cancer oncology is a very big part to be discussed. It's a big chapter, it's a big branch, a separate branch is there. So there must be a Ayurvedic oncology also, where we can find out so many things, that how the different Hetuskanda is responsible for making the cancer pathologies in our Ayurvedic point of view, or in Ayurvedic perspective, and how can we deal by using the different Vishagna Dravyas or Garavishagna Yogas along with Dosha Pratyanic and Vyadhi Pratyanic Chikitsa. That is a different part. But there is a various forms of the DNA damage. There is single strand breaks, covalently bound chemical DNA adducts. These are the various forms of the DNA damage through which the cancer occurs. And there are lots of food mutagens they have mentioned. Now there is a separate branch, that is the genotoxicity. The genotoxicity, there are genotoxic substances which is responsible for making the gene alterations, and which is responsible for the DNA alterations, which ultimately responsible for the different cancer pathologies. There are different cancer-causing carcinogens, which we call as the genotoxics particularly, or the environmental xenobiotics, or the food mutagens particularly, which is responsible for this cancer pathology. Like here, I just want to highlight certain food mutagens like aflatoxins B1 from the Aspergillus flavus, nitrosamines in the fermented food. Nowadays, the fats of the fermented food is rises so much, but there is a chemical which is found in the fermented food which can be responsible, or which can be act as a food mutagen, and which can be act for the cancer pathogen. Even the heated food, there is a lot of common practices that we heated the food repeatedly. But if we are doing the repeated heating method, it generates the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon, which is responsible for the cancer. Like अगर कोई भी आप रेस्टोरेंट में अगर आप जाएंगे या कोई भी स्वीट की दुकान में आप जाएंगे तो कचौरी समोसा वगैरह जो फ्राइड होता है, it is basically they are using the same heated oil for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 6 days. And we are basically using, or we are consuming that kind of pakoras and samosas and kachoris and all kinds of these things. So it is a repeated heated food basically. तो जो तेल हम वो यूज करते हैं उस समोसा को, उस कचौरी को फ्राई करने के लिए, दैट इज अ रिपीटेड हीटेड ऑयल बेसिकली. एंड वही हीटेड ऑयल्स में हम जनरली वो कचौरी समोसा वगैरह जो है वो फ्राइड करते हैं, उसको तलते हैं और उसी को हम खाते हैं. So that basically generates certain toxic agents, and that toxic agents may be responsible for the different cancer pathologies. So these are the food mutagens. Now this is the thing. I'm not going in detail because how these chemicals, external sources, radiations, endogenous sources. There are certain autobiotics like the arm, we can say Viruddha, we can say infection, cellular metabolism. These are the different factors responsible for the DNA damages, and finally these are the series of the pathologies occurs, and finally the tumors or the cancer cells multiply and the cancer pathologies manifested. This is the overview of the carcinogens. Now, is there any role of a, now this is the whole aspect of the xenobiotics in a contemporary context. Now, what is the symptoms which is mentioned in context of the Garavisha, and what is the role of Garavisha in different sampraptis that we are now looking. Now, relationship between the Hetu and Vyadhi, that is the most important one. This is particularly mentioned in context of Charakanidas Adhyay 8. That is, eko hetu anekasya tathekasya eka eva hi. Vyadhi ekasya cha aneko bahunam bahuopi cha. Means a single hetu can cause a single disease. Like suppose the ruksha hetu is responsible for the manifestation of the jwara. At the same time, a single hetu may be a cause for the multiple diseases. Like ruksha hetu, that might be a hetu for jwara as well as for the pralap. These are the classical example I am giving. The same thing, the multiple hetus can be responsible for causing a single disease, and the same thing, the multiple hetus can be responsible for the multiple disease. Why I am telling this shlok, and what is the context of quoting this particular shloka is that when you are understanding any disease pathology to the Ayurveda, it is very essential to understand the previous Bodhi Sangrama. That is, what is the previous Bodhi Sangrama? That is, Vikaranama akushalo na jiriyat kadachana nahi sarva vikaranam namatosto dhuvasya. Tasmat vikara prakriti sthanan adhishtanantarani. That is the most important thing, that whenever we have to understand the disease to the Ayurveda, you have to understand, if you are not able to you are not able to do the nomenclature to that particular disease pathology, you have to understand that particular disease condition under these three headings, that is Vikara Prakriti, Vikara Adhishtan and Vikara Samudhan. What is the Vikara Prakriti? That is, whenever you are understanding any disease pathology, whether it is autoimmune disorder, whether it is a cancer pathology, or whether it is a hormonal disorder, whether it is a hypersensitive reaction, anything, any disease pathology which is mentioned in a contemporary point of view, or if you have to understand in Ayurvedic perspective, you have to first understand on these three areas. That is, what is this Vikara Prakriti? That first you have to identify the involvement of the dosha, dusha and mala, then Adhisthana, whether it is of a Balya Roga Marga, Abhyanta Roga Marga, Madhyam Roga Marga, that is the most important thing. And what is the Vikara Samudhan? Now what is the most important thing? Vikara Samudhan is a very important thing. We have to identify the dosha prakopak vikara samudhan. We have to identify the dhatu pradosha or the srotodushtikar hetu. At the same time, we have to identify the agantuj hetu also. Now, I am just taking one example. Now, initially, recently, I am just quoting the one video, which is this is a particularly a research which is conducted in a Britain. There they have found that particularly the different air pollutants, they get enter into the body through the inhalational route, and it enters into systemic circulation, and then they have the affinity towards the brain, and they have means there is a accumulation of that air pollutants in the particular brain region, which is responsible for the degeneration of the brain cells, which is responsible for the Alzheimer's disease or the neurodegenerative disease of the brain. So, where is the Vikaradhishtan? Vikaradhishtan is in a Shiro Pradesh. What is the hetu? That particular air toxicants or that particular aerosols, it enters into systemic circulation, and through that it enters into the Shiro Pradesh, and then it it is responsible for the neurodegenerative changes, and that's responsible for the Alzheimer disease. And that's why there is a occurring of the Smriti Bharamsha or the Alki Bharamsha or Smriti Bharamsha, this kind of a thing. So we have to understand the whole scenario in an Ayurvedic perspective point of view to these three headings. That is, what is the Vikar Prakriti, what is the Vikar Adhishtan, and what are the Vikar Samutha. So whenever we are dealing with the different disease pathology, we have to identify what are the dosha prakopa ketus, what are the dhatu pradosha ketus, and along with these two prakopa ketus, we have to identify the agantu ketu also, like the different forms of the garavishas or the different forms of the xenobiotics. What are the exposure of that particular xenobiotics? It is very essential to understand. So this is a nutshell that how you have to apply the concept of this Garavisha or this concept of xenobiotics for framing out the different disease pathologies for the management of the Ayurvedic point of view. So what are the symptoms of the Garavisha? Now if you see the symptoms of the Garavisha, they have typically mentioned the certain things. Tena Pandu Krusho Alpagnihi. Now, this Garavisha basically having the effect on the your Datragni. That is the most important thing. So, it manifests at Agni level. And whatever the things we are consuming, if your digestive power or if your Datragni is deranged or if there is a disturbance in the Datragni, whatever the things we are consuming, it will not be properly metabolized. It will not be properly excreted out in a proper way. And why? Because of this, because it affects on your Agni. So the Agni, the status of Agni plays a very important role, and Garavisha basically affects the Agni, and that's why if you see the symptoms of this Garavisha, it basically mentioned as the Alpagni. Then Trasa Shwasa Jwarardita, Vayuna Pratilomena. Now this is a code word thing. Vayuna Pratiloma. Now there are so many disease pathologies where the Prakrut Gati of a Vayu is get disturbed. So what is the main symptoms of this Garavisha? Vayuna Pratilomena. Means the Prakrut Gati of the Vayu is get disturbed in particularly when a person is suffered from this Garavisha. Swapna Chinta Parayana, Mahodara Yakuta Prihi, Deenavaga Durbalo Alasana, Shofavana, Satat Admata, Shushka Pada Karakshayi. So these are the common symptoms of the Garavishas which we are routinely present in the body. That doesn't mean each and every symptom must be present to that particular patient. No, it is not possible. If all the symptoms are presenting in a particular person, that might be a asadhya condition. It might be it is a asadhya condition or it is the Arishta Suchak Lakshana. Okay, but you have to identify that yes, we have to observe that kind of symptoms particularly which is mentioned in context of the Garavisha. The remaining symptoms which is particularly mentioned in Garavishas, they are basically with the dreams. That is Swapne, Gomayu, Marjara, Nakula, Vyala, Vanara, Praya, Pashiri, Shushkachya, Vanaspati, Jalashan. I am not going in details, these kind of things. These are the dreamy thoughts particularly which comes when the person is in a deep sleep, and these kind of thoughts present in the dream. So we have to also observe these kind. We have to ask the patient these kind of the observations or these kinds of the thoughts when the person is in a deep sleep, particularly in a dream. So this is also another way to identify that whether the person is suffered from the Garavisha or not particularly. But still, it is very essential that Alpagni, Pratilomita Vayu, these are the most important thing. It also affects the Yakrut and Liha also. So these are the certain symptoms of Garavisha which is most commonly mentioned in context of Garavisha. But that doesn't mean इतने ही symptoms आपको Garavish के context में आपको मिलेंगे. No. Even the Viruddhahara symptoms, we can, the list is, the whole diseases are incorporated under the symptoms of this Viruddhahara. That is Shandya, Andya, Visarpa, Dakodara, Vispota, Unmada. Unmad is a big Samprapti, where all the psychological disorders are incorporated. Bhagandar is there, Murcha, Madha, Atman, Galagraha, Pandu, Amayastha Visha, Kilas, Kushta, Grihani, Shot, Amlapitta, Jwara, Pinasa. Santana dosha. Now, Santana dosha. This is basically in part that is there might be a certain genetic changes occurs and the inherited diseases may be manifested in the offspring also. So this is a way out to look out into this particular context. Now Upadravas. Now this is the most important thing. Upadrav means along with the disease manifestations, there are certain Upadravas has been mentioned, though it is not clearly mentioned by Acharya Charya Sushruta but they have mentioned very simple or very that is a key word basically, that is एतेहि अन्यैश्च बहुभिः लिष्टो घोरे उपद्रवेहि गरार्तो नाशम आपनोति कच्चित् सत्यो चिकित्सकः. Means whatever the symptoms or whatever the upadravas they have mentioned, that is ukta upadravas they have mentioned. Aparecha एते अन्यैश्च बहुभिः लिष्टो घोरे उपद्रवेहि. Aparecha nukte darumihi means there are lots of n number of anukta upadravas are also there. Now it is a time to understand and identify that anukta upadrava. Nowadays, and because this combination and permutations are infinite, we cannot label कि भाई इस combination और इस permutation से यही उपद्रव होगा या यही disease manifestation होगा या यही system involve होगी. No, there are n number of combination and permutations of this Garavisha, and we are exposing to the different routes, and accordingly the upadravas can be manifested. Accordingly, the symptoms of the Garavisha can be manifested. It depends on the nature of that particular Garavisha, where there is their affinity. कुछ विषय की एफिनिटी जो होगी, गर्विश की एफिनिटी वो ब्रेन की तरफ होगी, कुछ गर्विश की एफिनिटी जो है वो किडनी की तरफ होगी या फिर वृक्क की तरफ होगी, किसी की एफिनिटी जो है वो सप्त धातुओं में से शुक्र पे होगी. So it depends upon the affinity also. So according to the nature, according to the guna of that Garavisha, according to the affinity of that particular Garavisha, the manifestation varies. And it's our duty to understand that particular path, that where our patient is situated, where it is in a Purvarupavastha, where it is our patient is in a Rupavastha, where our patient is in a Upadravavastha or anything, and what are the हेतु स्कंद. जो हेतु स्कंद उस जमाने में लिखे हुए थे अभी वो है ऐसा नहीं है. जैसे मेहत्रे सर एक कॉमनली एक एग्जांपल देते हैं कि शिवाजी महाराज जो है वो उस जमाने में लड़ाई करने के लिए तलवार और भाला का यूज करते थे. पर आज के परिप्रेक्ष्य काल में अगर शिवाजी महाराज, आज का परिप्रेक्ष्य काल क्या है, आज अणुबॉम्ब है. अब अणुबॉम्ब के साथ अगर शिवाजी महाराज तलवार और भाले लेके अगर लड़ाई करेंगे तो वो जीत पाएंगे क्या? नहीं. एट द सेम टाइम द हेतु स्कंद इज माय डियर फ्रेंड्स आवर चेंजिंग. जो उस जमाने का हेतु स्कंद था वो आज आपको नहीं मिलेगा. So it's our duty to identify the new different hetu skandha, what are its probable effects on your body. That is also a different point of issue to discuss, and collectively we have to consider all the hetu skandha, and then we have to administer the treatment to that particular one. This is the thing. Now what is the treatment of the Garavish? Now अगर हम देखेंगे Garavish की treatment हो या फिर गर्विश की पर्टिकुलर ट्रीटमेंट जो है या कोई भी डिजीज कंडीशन की ट्रीटमेंट, अगर हम वाग्भट्टा विधोपक्रमणी अध्याय देखेंगे या दोषोपक्रमणी, these are the two basic अध्यायs they have mentioned where all the line of a treatment has been mentioned. Means Vata, if there is the involvement of the Vata disease, Vata, then Vata upakrama sneha sveda sanshodhanam vidhu. So these are the basic principles they have mentioned. The formulations may vary, but the principles remain same. If there is the involvement of the Pitta, we have to follow the Pitta Upakrama. When there is the involvement of the Vata and Pitta, which is caused due to different kinds of the Hetus, particularly there is the involvement of the xenobiotics or the Garavisha, then we have to adopt the Vata, Pitta, Shamaka Chikitsa along with Gara Pratyanik Chikitsa and that kind of a Padhi Pratyanik Chikitsa also. So this is the thing. If there is the involvement of the Kapha, then there is we have to do the Vamana procedure. So all the line of a treatment they have mentioned in a very concise form. If you are taking the, we are considering the Vidopakramani Adhyay, they have mentioned the Shodhana Chikitsa and Shamana Chikitsa. Under the Shodhana Chikitsa, they have mentioned the Panchopakramas, and Shamana Chikitsa, they have mentioned the Sevan Upakramas. So whole treatment is concise into the Shodhana and the Shamana. Okay, and whenever the different disease conditions you are considering, they have mentioned the Vaman, Virechan, or either the Basti or the same thing. So if you are taking the treatment of the Garavisha, he has clearly mentioned that Garartho Vantavan Bhutva Tat Patham Pana Bhojanam Shudrudet Shilet Hemam Suprasthana Videsma. Now, here the role of the body purification plays a very important role particularly. Now, the body purification or the Panchakarma procedure, particularly the Vaman procedure, they have mentioned for expulsion of these Garagishas from the body. For that, you have to follow a very proper procedure. We have to follow a proper Snehapana procedure, and then we have to use a particular Vamak Dravya, which is particularly a Garavisha, like Dhamarga. Dhamarga is particularly mentioned as a Vamaka Dravya, which is particularly indicated for the Garavisha also. So that might have a ability to expel out that Garavisha from the body to the that. So whenever you want to do the Vamana procedure, we have to we are just following a simple yoga. Either Vachado, Yashtimadu, Madantal, Purna, we are commonly practicing, but we are not exploring the other medicines also, which also having the action on that particular विषय point of view. So Garavish के लिए अगर आपको वमन कराना है तो you can use the Dhamargo also. So this is the thing. This is a common thing, that is Garartho Vantavan Bhutva Tat Tatyam Pana Bhojanam. And after the proper Shodhana, you have to follow the Suvarna Bhasma. That is the most important thing. That Suvarna Bhasma is the most important Gara Vishagna Ushada, or it is mentioned as the best Gare Visheshu Gara. Means सभी गर विश्व में या सभी गर विश्व का नाश करने के लिए सुवर्ण का प्रयोग जो है वो करने के लिए कहा है. एंड देयर आर लॉट्स ऑफ articles have been published where this how this xenobiotics get particularly because xenobiotics is responsible for making the oxidative stress or for producing the free radicals into the body. For that, antioxidants plays a very important role. So there are lots of articles have been published. There are lots of studies have been published where there is a role of the antioxidant property of this Suvarna Bhasma has been mentioned. So the same things they have mentioned, that it is responsible for the Shuddhe Rudita Chana Hema Churna Sadape. Means they have mentioned particularly the Suvarna, Shuddha Suvarna for this Garavisha Nashana. So that is the most important thing. Now, this is another yoga they have mentioned, that is Sharkara Kshodra Sayuktam Churnam Tapya Suvarna Yoga Leha Prashamati Ugram Sarva Yoga Kutam Visham. Now, this is another thing. Akshika Dhatu Kanchana Yoga Churnam. Now, there are lots of different thoughts of thoughts that there are certain people who are using the Suvarna Makshing along with a Suvarna Bhasma, or some people are using the Suvarna Bhasma also. No thing, but Suvarna Makshing is also Madhurasatmak, Tiktarasatmak, which is a Balya and Bruhan and Rasayan in nature, and they having a Visha Nashaka property or Visha Prashamana property. At the same time, the Hema or the Suvarna also having a potent Garavishanashak property and Vishanashak property, and that's why they have mentioned as a, this particular yoga for the Shamana of the Garavisha. So, if you are not able to do the Shodhana procedures, means following the Shodhana procedure like Vamana procedure, you can use the Suvarna Siddha Jala for avoiding, for neutralizing the bad effects of the xenobiotics. Or even there are lots of Ayurvedic formulations or rasa formulations where the Suvarna is being used. So accordingly, where you just get an idea, yes, in this particular disease pathology, there might be an involvement of the xenobiotics, or there might be an involvement of the Garavisha. And nowadays, it is very common that everyone is embedded in a test tube of a toxins. So everyone is exposed to the different forms of the xenobiotics, the different routes. So it is very, very essential that in our prescriptions, you have to mention a one particular drug, which is a particularly a Vishapratini. Or you have to just find out a particular kalpa. In that particular kalpa, there in that particular Kalashruti, they have mentioned there is a description of the Gara Vishagana property also. So it's our responsibility, it's the responsibility of a Vaidya to find out such kind of combinations. Now this is the reference of the Rasaratna Samuchaya, where they have emphasized, particularly emphasized, that it is the Pathyam Sarva Vishapaham Garaharam Drushta Grahanadi Mukha. So this is particularly highlighted the Suvarna Bhasma or the Suvarna is the most important thing uh, for uh, for managing the Gara Vishas particular. Now these are certain formulations whenever you are dealing with the different disease conditions like Bilvadiya Gada. Now see the Falashruti of this Bilvadiya Gada, Bhujanga Lutandur Vichikade, Visuchika Ajirna Garajvarich, Artha Naran Huta Vidarshitacha, Swastik Karoti Anjana Pananasti. Now just side by the Bhujanga Luta Undra Vichikade. We are not dealing with this kind of a venomous bites. But what about this particular Falashruti, that is Visuchika Ajirna Garaj Varaichi. So whenever you think that yes, there might be involvement of the particular means there are lots of people who having an allergy to particular food articles or the particular things. At that time, you have to think about this administration of the Bilvadiya Gata when a person is having the lakshanas of Visuchika Ajirna or Bhuta Vidarshaka conditions. Then the Bhuta. Bhuta is the best Vishanashak property and it is the best Gara Vishanashak property. Like in context of Visha Pratishedadya, it is clearly mentioned that Sarveshu Sarva Avasteshu Vishesheshu no Dutupamam Vidyate Veshajam Kinchit Visheshat Prabalyani. Means for every type of a Visha and for every type of a poisoning condition, Bhuta is the best medicine for all types of the poisons in which the Garavish also includes. Like suppose जैसे मैंने अभी आपको एग्जांपल दिया था कि देयर इज अ डिपोजिशन ऑफ द डिफरेंट एरोटॉक्सिकेंट्स और द aerosol which is deposited in the brain and so that it is responsible for the neurodegeneration which is responsible for the Alzheimer disease. So can we use the Bhuta preparations for that kind of a condition? We have to think about that thing. So what are the gunadharmas of the Bhuta? That is also most important thing. That is Shastam Dhismuti Methagni Bala Ayush Chaksham Bal Buddha Praja Kranti Saukumarya Swaratinam Shatakshina Parisarva Shastra Glani Lakshanam Vata Pitta Vishonmada Shosha Lakshmi Dwarapa. So this is Vishanasha. Again, they have highlighted the Vishagna property of this Bhuta. So Bhuta plays a very important role. But the question again arises, again, if you are administered the Bhuta, that should not be a contaminated. So वही चीज है कि वी हैव टू बी वेरी अवेयर, वी हैव टू बी हाईलाइटेड द जो गाय जो देसी गाय होती है वही आपको पकड़नी है, उसी से आपको दूध निकालना है, उसी का आपको कड़ बनाना है, उसी का आपको घी बनाना है. इवन द घी भी जो हम बनाते हैं दैट शुड बी नॉट ऑफ अ क्रीम मेथड, दैट शुड बी ऑफ अ ट्रेडिशनल इंडियन जो चर्निंग मेथड जो हमारी है उसी से हमें बनाना है. देन एंड देन it will have a Vishagna property or it having that kind of a useful effects. Otherwise, it will be not helpful. Okay, so we have to be very particular when you are taking the Bhuta, when you are preparing the medicated Bhuta. You have to select a very particular Bhuta. कि वो देसी गाय का ही होना चाहिए, वो क्रीम मेथड से बना नहीं होना चाहिए, उसमें कोई भी केमिकल्स उस गाय को दिए नहीं होने चाहिए. This is the common things which we have to look out. Now, see the Falashruti of the Tiktaka Bhuta. If you see the Falashruti of the Tiktaka Bhuta is a Bhuta which is mentioned in context of the Kushna Chikitsa. Okay, now there are lots of things which is mentioned in earlier slides where there is a predominant role of the xenobiotics in the autoimmune disorders, particularly in a hypersensitive disorders, where there is a role of the Shodhana Chikitsa plays an important role, and after Shodhana Chikitsa, we have to follow the Shamana Chikitsa also. There are lots of people who having a Shita Pitta, and for that we have to administer the Vamana procedure first, and then we have to administer for the different Shamana Yoga. Now we have to identify such a yoga preparation, Shamana yoga preparation, where Means along with Kushta Chikitsa, along with the Kushtanashak property, or along with this Kushtagna, particularly Tiktagruta, it is mentioned in context of Kushta. But if you see the Palashruti, it has been clearly mentioned that Bhagandaram Apasmaram Udaram Padaram Pradaram Garam. So it is also Garavishanashak. So select such kind of formulations which having a broad spectrum activity. It should be a Garavishnashak, it should be a Radhi Pratyamik, which is mentioned in Kushta, and it should be a Dosha Pratyamik. Like this Tikta Gruta, it having the Pitta Shamana property. The same thing, the Kalyanaka Gruta. Now, if you see the different neurotoxicants, there are the n number of. I am just highlighting these neurotoxicants. Why? Because these neurotoxicants, they have plays a very important role for the different neurological disorders, and where we can use this Kalyanaka Grita. Now, see the Padashruti of this Kalyanaka Grita, where they have mentioned the Pandu Kandu Vishe Shoshe Mohe Mehe Garej. So if there is a role of the neurotoxicants where psychological disorders emerge out, we can administer the Galyanamrita to that particular person. So this might be a helpful. So that Galyanamrita may be helpful for neutralizing the Garavisha also, and at the same time also helpful for managing that particular psychological disorder और the मतलब व्याधि प्राथमिक भी हमारा वो द्रव्य हो गया, हमारा वो कल्प हो गया, at the same time वो Garavisha की try to find out such kind of a kalpo and try to find out such kind of history of the patient. Now, recently we have identified the means we took one literally research where we have identified near about 137 Vishagna drugs of Bhavaprakash Nigal, which having the Vishagna property along with other karmas also, like certain drugs are Kushtagna, Kandugna and Vishagna. So along with Vishagna karma, certain drugs are Shwasagna or Kasagna. So near about 137 drugs have been identified which having the Vishagna property. At the same time, we have to identify other Vishagna drugs also which having this Vishaprasthenic action. So out of that 137, there are 13 drugs have been mentioned which particularly mentioned as the Garavishanashak. Like Patha is there, Laghudanti is there, Shweta Punarnava is there, Devadali is there, Karir is there, then Loha, Mandura, Hingula. These are the Dhatu Vargas where which are used as a particularly mentioned as a Garavisha, Bhav Prakash particularly. Bhav Prakash ने लोह, मंदूरा, हिंगुला इनका प्रयोग जो है वो गरविश के मतलब गरविश नाशक के रूप में कहा है. Then there is a lava mass is there, Naramutra is there, Takra it is specifically indicated as a Garavishanashak. So you have to daily consume the Takra also, depending upon the patient's habitat, patient condition, patient's facility. Or Takra is the Tridoshama according to the Anupana, according to the things which we are using. Suppose if you are using the sugar or if you are using the Sharkara with Takra, it acts as a Pitta Shama. If you are mixing with Likatu with Takra, it acts as a Kapanashama. If it is mixed with a Sandal level, it is a Vata Shama. So according to the Anupana, according to the different medicines, it acts as a Nidosha Shamaka. But still Takra is mentioned as a Garavishanashaka. So whenever you are exposing to this n number of Garavishas, we have to identify certain medicated food which is basically a Garavishanashak. We have to identify certain formulations which having the role in the management of the Garavisha along with other disease conditions. So that is the most important thing. Like the Bhrishtatandula Odana, it is also mentioned as a Garavishanashak. Nowadays what happens, we all are preparing our odan, we all preparing our bhat, we all preparing our chawal in cooker, pressure. So if you are heating that particular chawal in a 200 degrees Celsius or 300 degrees Celsius, it destroys all the active ingredients. But if you are making the odana in a this particular way, that is Sudhutah, Prastutah, Svinnah, Santapcha Udano Laghu. It is Laghu basically it is very light to digest, and it is also Garavishna. It is particularly indicated for the Shreshma Pradhana Vadi. So we have to identify such kind of formulations which is particularly Garavishna, and we have to consume that particular Garavishagna yogas or Garavishagna medicated food, so that we can keep ourselves protected from this exposure of the not exposure of the, it is very difficult to protect ourselves from the exposure to the xenobiotics, but once it get enters into the body, we have to maintain our datragni in proper way. For that, we have to take such kind of food materials, we have to take such kind of the medicines if you are suffered from certain disease conditions. Like Varsha Bhu Kalasha Punarnava is again mentioned as a Garashopagna, Garnashaka. So we can prepare the Punarnava sabji we can use. Even there is a Vishaguna Gana is mentioned in context of Charaka Samhita or Sapuratin Charak Sutra Taradhyaya 4, where they have mentioned as a Visoda is they have mentioned it. So you can use the Visoda Achar as a Vishaguna. So this kind of a food items we can commonly use in our day-to-day practice to nullify the effect of the Garavisha. Even Narayan Churna, if you read the Falashruti of the Narayan Churna, they have typically mentioned that Dansha Vishay, Mudha Vishay, Sagare Kutrime Vishay. So whenever you want to do the Virechana particularly, because in Narayan Churna there are lots of Anupanas has been mentioned, and according to the Anupana, its Falashruti is different. So it is mentioned in context of Udara Chikitsa, where it is particularly mentioned this kind of a Falashruti, where so that we can use the Narayan Churna as a Virechak or Kalpa in the different disease conditions, where there is the involvement of the Garavisha. And nowadays it is common that there must be an involvement of the Garavisha. Even Dhamagro Kalpa we can use for the Vamana procedure. Nowadays what happens, we are using a common Kalpa, that is Madanpala, Yashti or Vacha or Sanzo mix करके हम generally देते हैं. That is a common practices in Maharashtra in anywhere. But we can also find out the other Vamat Kalpa also. We have to think about the Jinutaka, we have to think about the Dhamarka, we have to think about Ishwaku and other things also. So these are particularly mentioned in context of the Garavisha also. So the nutshell of the whole presentation is this: is that the whatever the description mentioned in the Ayurveda, particularly about the Garavisha, it is very relevant in the present contemporary time period. उस जमाने भी गरविशय जो है वो अन्न पान और अलग अलग मीडिएटर से दिए जाते थे. आज भी ये अल्पवीर्य विषय जो है वो अलग अलग रूप से हमारे शरीर में unintentionally हम ले रहे हैं. There are lots of malpractices of common people, of a person who having a hina sattva. They are mixing so many things, they are doing so many basically making a bad practices where we are unintentionally exposed to these kinds of the xenobiotics. And the fate of these xenobiotics is also very difficult to understand. It is very difficult to measure on the parametric measurements, and it's very difficult to understand when it enters into the body what combinations forms into the body and how this combination works in the body is also very difficult to understand. But the nutshell is the thing that whenever you are formulating any disease samprapti, you have to think about the concept of this Garavisha and its role, because it is very relevant in the present contemporary time period. And when we are dealing such kind of a disease condition, you have to think about the concept of the Garavisha and yoga along with Dosha Pratiniki Chikitsa, Vyadhi Pratiniki Chikitsa and Visha Pratiniki Chikitsa. So this is the nutshell of this presentation. So I think I highlighted all the aspects. If you have any query,
Yes.
you may ask.
Thank you.
Any queries? Not. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Any queries? I'm not able to listen anyone's voice.
Have you done, sir?
मुझे किसी का आवाज नहीं
It's
आ रहा है.
completed?
सागर सर,
Yes, sir.
I think Kiran Shinde is saying something, but I'm not able to hear her.
माझा आवाज नाही जात म्हणजे
हां.
येतोय ना सर. Thank you so much, Dr. Amol Kadu sir, for your valuable guidance on the topic of Garavish. You elaborated Garavish very well for all of us. I am also thankful to our respected chairman and our SSM principal sir, chairman Mrs. Himgauri Adke madam, and respected principal Dr. Milind Avare sir, and our vice principal Dr. Faltare sir, for giving us permission to conduct such a knowledgeable event, such a webinar. I am also thankful to our UG director Kiran Shinde sir and exam department head Dr. Potpure sir for help us to arrange such a webinar. We look forward to your guidance in future also in the subject Agat Tantra for our SSM students. Thank you once again sir.
आपको आवाज आ रही है क्या?
हाँ मेरी आवाज आ रही है सर आपको? Am I audible? Am I audible? Thank you so much sir, and this session ends here. Thank you so much once again. माझा ऐकू आला? त्यांनी माझा आवाज नाही गेला ना? Thank you so much once again.
केलं का?
त्यांना माझा आवाज नाही गेला. कडू सरांना माझा आवाज नाही गेला.
ओके.
मी इथून बंद केलं.
यूट्यूबचं बंद करतो शेअर.
हॅलो